Ever wondered how wrestling history could look if things always went to plan? Well, today we're diving into some scrapped wrestling storylines and moments from the modern era that would mean the industry would look a whole lot different had plans not been forced to change. Whether it be backstage fights, contract renewals, or untimely deaths, many factors come into play when you think of what could have been. So let's uncover 6 scrapped AEW plans and 6 from WWE as we explore 12 cancelled wrestling plans we never got to see. Let's kick things off with one that still stings for many fans, that being Brodie Lee's planned hometown debut. Before the world was turned upside down by the pandemic, All Elite Wrestling had big plans for the former Wyatt family member's arrival. The Exalted One was set to make a monumental debut in front of a raucous crowd in his hometown of Rochester, New York, and it was seemingly the perfect setting to introduce the former Luke Harper, who was ready to reinvent himself in the company. However, as the pandemic spread, live events were abruptly halted and AEW were forced to pivot. Instead of the explosive hometown welcome that Brodie deserved, his debut took place in an empty Daily's Place. While the debut itself was still impactful, with Lee revealing himself as the leader of the Dark Order, it lacked the electric atmosphere that a live hometown crowd would have provided. The shift to Daily's Place, though necessary, meant that fans were robbed of what could have been one of the most memorable debut moments in AEW history. The energy and emotion of Brodie stepping into the ring in front of friends, family, and longtime fans would have been a sight to behold, and it's a true what-if scenario that remains bittersweet, especially in light of Brodie's untimely passing in December 2020, as he never got to work in front of his hometown crowd for AEW. And do you want to step into the booker's chair and play out the scrapped plans from this video? Then you need to check out TEW 9, the latest installment of the Total Extreme Wrestling series, which is hands down the best pro wrestling booking simulator on the market. TEW 9 lets you control your favorite wrestling promotion with unparalleled depth and realism, managing the backstage politics, booking the shows themselves, battling to keep your best talent under contract, whilst expanding your roster with major free agent signings. With mods from TEWDB.com, you can relive iconic wrestling eras. Ever dreamt of leading WCW to finally topple WWF and change wrestling history forever? Or maybe you're eager to pick your side in the current wrestling war between WWE and AEW. With TEW 9, the power is in your hands. Mark your calendars as TEW 9 releases on Saturday, August 3rd, and can be purchased by heading to TEWDB.com and clicking the huge banner at the top of the page. Can't wait that long? Well, jump into the action early with the free public beta starting Saturday, July 27th. Don't forget to visit TEWDB to keep up to date with the latest mod drops and use the banner at the top of the site to purchase the game on August 3rd. Get ready to make your mark in the wrestling world with TEW 9, and I promise if you're a wrestling fan, this is the game for you. In September 2022, WWE began an elaborate and mysterious campaign, playing an a cappella version of White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane at live events and during commercial breaks. Hidden QR codes on episodes of Raw and SmackDown led to websites with imagery, mini-games, and riddles, building anticipation for the Extreme Rules event on October 8th. At the event's conclusion, Bray Wyatt made a dramatic return to WWE, accompanied by live-action versions of his Firefly Funhouse characters, wearing a new mask, revealing himself as the mastermind behind the White Rabbit teasers. Wyatt's return introduced a brand new masked character, Uncle Howdy, portrayed by his real-life brother Bo Dallas, who was seemingly looking to bring out Bray's dark side after his apparent humbling from his WWE release and subsequent fan reaction the year prior. Uncle Howdy quickly became a central figure in Wyatt's storylines, with Bo later revealing that the character was somebody from Bray's nightmares as a child. Following his feud with LA Knight, Wyatt began a storyline with Bobby Lashley heading into WrestleMania 39. However, Wyatt quietly disappeared from television before the event, and the storyline and Mania match was dropped. Reports later indicated that this was due to Wyatt dealing with a real-life illness, but on August 19th it was reported that Wyatt was nearing a return after battling a life-threatening illness. Just 5 days later, he would pass away unexpectedly at the age of 39 1986 from a heart attack triggered by a prior COVID-19 infection. This brought a heartbreaking end to the plans for the two real-life brothers to work side by side for the first time on WWE main roster television, something that Dallas has said was always his dream, adding to the already crushing passing of one of the greatest of a generation. On top of this, in the April 2024 documentary Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal, it was revealed that Wyatt had been planning to revive the character of The Fiend with a new mask, outfit and props, something that once again sadly never came to be. The reintroduction of Uncle Howdy and the continuation of Wyatt's vision through the Wyatt 6 faction that debuted in June 2024 not only pays tribute to Bray's long-lasting legacy, but also gives us a glimpse at what might have come to be with the Uncle Howdy storyline, only with the new Fiend as the 6th member of the group. Next up is a scenario that had fans buzzing with excitement: AJ Styles making his AEW debut on Dynamite. Back in 2019, as AEW was building its roster with top-tier talent, rumors were swirling about the phenomenal one making the jump to the new promotion. The idea of AJ Styles in an AEW ring was tantalizing, considering his history with many of the company's top stars from their time in New Japan Pro-Wrestling and the independent circuit. The plan was set to see Styles make his debut on the debut episode of Dynamite, with AJ and the Good Brothers set to start a feud with the Elite. To add even more impact, this debut was originally planned to take place at Madison Square Garden, a venue steeped in WWE tradition. As we know, however, the show didn't end up happening in MSG, but this was certainly the hope at the time. Regarding Styles, negotiations fell through and he opted to re-sign with WWE, securing a lucrative and multi-year contract. This decision kept him firmly within the WWE universe, where he continued to add to his already illustrious career. Whilst fans have enjoyed AJ in WWE, the prospect of seeing him mix it up with AEW remains one of the biggest what-ifs in recent wrestling history. The debut of AJ Styles at Madison Square Garden could have been a defining moment for the promotion, adding another marquee name to its roster and creating endless possibilities for fresh and exciting matches, and it would have no doubt been bigger than the Jake Hager debut that we got on the end of that show. And speaking of WWE to AEW moves, one jump that did happen was the now Malachi Black becoming All Elite in June 2021. Before his departure from WWE, Aleister Black was set for a significant character evolution that fans were eager to see unfold. The plans involved the introduction of a darker, more sinister persona known as the Dark Father, which promised to take Black's character to new area heights. Aleister had already captivated WWE audiences with his unique look and in-ring prowess, and his mystique was further enhanced by cryptic promos and a dark, brooding presence. The Dark Father storyline was set to delve deeper into his dark side. However, just as the new chapter was about to begin, WWE surprisingly released Black in June 2021, much to the shock and disappointment of his fans. This abrupt end to his WWE career meant that the Dark Father storyline was scrapped before it could ever fully materialize. The wrestling world was left to wonder what could have been had Black been given the opportunity to fully explore this darker, more complex character, especially now that Triple H has taken over the creative reins, somebody who is a big fan of the Sinister Dutchman. After his release, Black wasted no time making an impact elsewhere. He debuted in AEW as Malachi Black much sooner than anybody thought possible, due to him having a 30-day non-compete clause left over from his time in NXT, as opposed to the typical 90 days seen on main roster contracts. While his AEW character is different from the Dark Father concept, elements of that persona have undoubtedly influenced his portrayal in AEW as the leader of the House of Black. However, the cancellation of the Dark Father storyline remains a notable missed opportunity in recent WWE history. And since we talked about Brodie Lee earlier in the video, the original plans for the reveal of the Exalted One were very different to what we saw play out on screen. In the weeks leading up to the reveal in March 2020, online speculation was rampant, with 3 prime candidates emerging as the likely leader of the Dark Order. These candidates were then free agents Brodie Lee, Matt Hardy, and former Elite member Marty Scurll. According to John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order, they were initially told revealed that the Broken One Matt Hardy was in line to take up the role. This revelation seemed to align with Hardy's known affinity to complex and dark characters, making him a fitting choice for the Dark Order's enigmatic leader. Adding further confusion to the situation, Chris Jericho claimed on his podcast, Talk is Jericho, that it was actually Marty Scurll who management had in line for the role before he re-signed with Ring of Honor in January 2020, 3 months before the reveal. Scurll's connection to the Elite and his dark villain persona would have made him an intriguing choice for the faction's leader, although we now know that he wouldn't have lasted long in the role due to the controversy that all but ended his wrestling career on a major platform. So it would appear that Brodie Lee was in fact third in line to take the throne of the Dark Order. While we know Marty Scurll was no longer considered due to his commitment to Ring of Honor, the reason behind Matt Hardy not becoming the Exalted One remains unclear, although he did actually debut on that very same episode. Ultimately, Brodie's presence brought a sense of legitimacy and menace to the Dark Order, transforming the faction from jobber squad into a formidable force, with his absence still very much being felt within the group to this day. One of the most intriguing plans that never came to fruition was the rumored Nexus reunion at WrestleMania 36. The Nexus, a rebellious faction that debuted in 2010, left a lasting impression on WWE fans with their shock invasion and domination of Raw. Led by Wade Barrett, the group included future stars like Daniel Bryan, Heath Slater, and Ryback, among others, and the idea of a Nexus reunion brings a wave of nostalgia and excitement among the WWE universe. According to Heath, there were several discussions about bringing back the Nexus for WrestleMania 36. This reunion was intended to celebrate the group's 10th anniversary and would have gave members a moment to shine on WWE's grandest stage once more. WrestleMania 36, initially set to be held in Tampa, Florida, was supposed to feature this special moment that would have undoubtedly thrilled longtime fans and provided a significant boost to the show's excitement. However, the pandemic drastically altered those plans, as WrestleMania 36 was instead moved to the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, with no live audience in attendance. The lack of a crowd and the scaled-down nature of the event led to the cancellation of many planned segments, including the Nexus reunion. The potential in-ring return of Wade Barrett, who has since transitioned into a commentary role, and the reappearance of other original members would have been a monumental occasion. Unfortunately, this idea remains a what-if in wrestling history, leaving fans to wonder how a Nexus comeback might have impacted the landscape of WWE in 2020. Would they have simply played a cameo role in that year's John Cena versus The Fiend match, or would they have stuck around to rewrite the wrongs of their initial run with the company? Well, I guess we'll never know. One of the most anticipated matches that never came to be in AEW was the third bout between CM Punk and MJF. At the close of All Out 2022, fans were treated to a dramatic tease of what could have been an epic conclusion to their heated rivalry. MJF's return to AEW with the Devil Mask and his win in the Casino Ladder match set the stage perfectly for another showdown with Punk, who had just recaptured the AEW World Championship. The feud between Punk and MJF is widely regarded as the best rivalry AEW has seen to date, expertly blurring the lines between fiction and reality. This storyline featured MJF as the scorned fan looking for revenge on his once idol, creating a deeply personal and emotionally charged narrative. Their previous encounters had been brutal and intense, with MJF claiming a significant victory over Punk in Chicago earlier in the year, this being later followed by the infamous dog collar match which Punk won. The stage was set to be a climactic decider which promised to be the defining moment of MJF's career, with him defeating Punk to become the AEW World Champion for the first time. Whilst Punk's injury and subsequent media scrum wildfire halted plans for the rematch, the early days of AEW Collision in 2023 were another sign that the rivalry was set to be reignited, with the real World Champion CM Punk set to face off with then AEW World Champion MJF. Following CM Punk's hiatus, MJF declared himself as the true AEW World Champion, and Punk, in turn, who didn't lose his belt, maintained his claim to the title, carrying around his own version of the championship. As we now know, the teasers were short-lived, as Punk would soon find himself ousted from the company, as backstage tensions came to a boiling point at AEW All in London in August 2023, as the scrap between Jack Perry and the straight-edge superstar ultimately led to the former's exit from the company, leaving his rivalry with MJF in limbo, at least for now. After his All Elite Wrestling exit, the unthinkable happened when CM Punk returned to WWE at the 2023 Survivor Series, as he made his presence known at the very end of the show following the War Games match. That moment signaled a new chapter in wrestling history as hell literally froze over. Shortly after his return, a viral video surfaced showing a visibly angry Seth Rollins furious at ringside, setting the stage for what was to come. This storyline was driven by reported real-life animosity, a common theme with CM Punk that's always given his feuds an extra edge. The tension between Punk and Rollins added a layer of authenticity, making their encounters must-see TV. However, these plans were derailed when Punk suffered an injury in the Royal Rumble match in January 2024, scuppering the Second City Saints' expected first WrestleMania main event, with Rollins instead taking on Drew McIntyre, who is yet another WWE star who has been vocal about his displeasure with Punk's WWE return. Triple H would confirm in the WrestleMania 40 documentary that the plan was for Punk to take on Rollins at the show, and this would have almost certainly been in the main event of Night 1, and whilst their feud has continued since, it remains to be seen whether the straight-edge superstar will receive that spot in the future. We've spoken about scrapped AEW plans for CM Punk and another match with MJF, but let's delve into another direction that the Second City Saint could have headed had he remained a part of the All Elite roster, a rivalry with Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Page of the Elite. And I promise this will be the last CM Punk entry on this list. Following the famous events of All Out 2022 and the incident now dubbed as Brawl Out, the real-life heat between Punk and the Elite would have fueled this rivalry and could have elevated AEW to a whole new level, turning the most talked about drama in wrestling history into money-making matches. This is a tactic we've seen WWE successfully deploy with CM Punk's initial rivalry since his return there, capitalizing on supposed real-life tensions to generate interest and, well, revenue. A planned meeting between Punk and the Elite to put their differences aside is said to have been planned for the week of AEW All in London. However, these plans were derailed as the Young Bucks were reportedly not willing to work with Punk so soon after their backstage altercation. It was reported elsewhere that they wanted to wait around 6 months to see how things played out with Punk backstage. All in London was a milestone for AEW, and a storyline involving Punk and the Elite would have been a marquee attraction for the company, a storyline that would have likely kicked off that night in Wembley had things gone to plan. The storyline had the potential to be one of the hottest angles in modern wrestling, blending reality with fiction to create must-see TV. Fans were eager to see how the intense personal animosity would play out in the ring, and the matches themselves would have likely been instant classics given the talent involved, especially the singles match between Punk and Kenny Omega, as well as a multi-man match between CM, FTR, and the Elite. Whilst AEW has continued to grow and evolve their roster, the absence of this rivalry feels like arguably the biggest missed opportunity on this list, and it could have re-energized the company and potentially driven them to new heights that they've yet to reach before or since. Finn Balor's journey to becoming the inaugural WWE Universal Champion is a tale of what could have been a legendary run at the top of WWE. Balor, who made a name for himself in New Japan Pro-Wrestling as Prince Devitt and later in NXT as one of its biggest stars, received a rapid and substantial push upon his main roster call-up in July 2016. Almost immediately, he was positioned as a top-tier talent, winning a fatal four-way match and then defeating Roman Reigns to earn a shot at the newly created Universal Championship. It looked like he was set to become the next top face of WWE. At SummerSlam 2016, Balor defeated Seth Rollins to become the first ever Universal Champion, a moment that solidified his status as a main event player. However, this victory came at a significant cost. During the match, Balor suffered a severe shoulder injury, forcing him to relinquish the title the very next day on Raw. This injury not only cut short his championship reign, but also derailed his momentum as WWE's potential new top face. Balor's injury marked a pivotal moment in his career and possibly in WWE's long-term plans for him. Despite his obvious talent and the initial mega push, Vince McMahon seemingly lost faith in Balor as a top-tier talent due to concerns about his durability. Upon his return to action, Balor found himself in the mid-card, often being featured in high-profile matches, but never quite reclaiming the main event status that he had been once poised for. Despite his subsequent successes, including winning the Intercontinental Championship and having memorable feuds, Balor's trajectory was noticeably altered post-injury. Next on our list is a dream match that wrestling fans were eager to see: Cody Rhodes versus the Icon and his idol, Sting. When Sting made his surprise debut in AEW in December 2020, he would come face to face with Cody in what felt like a sign of things to come. The Icon's presence immediately sparked speculation about potential dream matches, and Cody Rhodes, one of AEW's top stars and a wrestling legacy himself, was high on that list. Cody Rhodes has since revealed that there were indeed plans for a match between himself and Sting, something that never came to be due to his jump to WWE in early 2022. The story could have been one of Cody seeking to prove himself against one of wrestling's all-time greats, a torch-passing moment that fans would remember forever. However, these plans were ultimately scrapped, and instead of high-profile singles matches, Sting was featured in tag team action alongside Darby Allin, allowing him to shine without overextending himself physically, although a few of the bumps that he took would say otherwise. Cody versus Sting would have been a monumental clash, blending AEW's present with WCW's storied past. It was likely used as a hook to convince Rhodes to re-sign with AEW in January 2022, but as we know now, Cody had another story that he wanted to finish. In January 2024, Brock Lesnar was set to make a dramatic comeback in the Royal Rumble match. The Beast Incarnate, known for his sporadic but impactful appearances, was expected to re-enter the WWE Universe in time for WrestleMania and a match with Intercontinental Champion Gunther, something that is a dream match for many. However, plans for Lesnar's return were abruptly cancelled. Lesnar was withdrawn from making his WWE return due to a high-profile legal issue involving Vince McMahon. The lawsuit cast a shadow over WWE and its operations, with Lesnar seemingly being mentioned as somebody involved in the situation. With Lesnar out of the picture, WWE had to quickly adjust their Royal Rumble plans, and the spots that were initially reserved for Brock were given to NXT standout Bron Breakker, a rising star with immense potential. Breakker's inclusion in the Rumble match provided him with a significant platform to showcase his talent to the wider WWE universe, and he's since received an official call up to the main roster where plans are in place for a mega push going forward. Breakker's elevation in the absence of Lesnar has been one of the unexpected benefits of this situation, and not only did he shine in the Royal Rumble, but his strong showing since has propelled him to a new level within WWE, showing that not all scrapped plans are bad for business. And before you go, make sure you check out 10 Vince McMahon moments that WWE will erase forever.